Welcome to Downshift. My name is Matt and I have spent the day with Nissan's new big boy. This is their all-new Armada and I've spent the day driving around a frigid Detroit, Michigan. Everyone's in Lions gear and as a Packer fan, it's a little bit intimidating. But what's not intimidating is the driving experience and the whole experience of the new Armada. So what I'm going to do today is show you everything that you need to know about this new Nissan Armada. We'll start with what's new for 2025 here. Now this is an entirely new generation of Armada, like I mentioned, and it's a new generation for the third time. It's still ladder frame or body on frame, so truck based, but it's 25% more torsionally rigid and 57% more lateral stiffness. So this has been very improved from a ride and dynamics perspective. It's also slightly longer, about just under an inch, and it's way wider at about 3 inches wider. So some big improvements for this generation. And it also faces some fairly stiff competition like the Sequoia from Toyota, the Tahoe and Suburban from Chevy, and also a Ford Expedition. We'll talk quite a bit about this in context of the Sequoia in probably a pretty favorable way to the Nissan. Under the hood is a big change. No more V8 engine here. Again, with the Sequoia, it's very same thing. Went from V8 NA to twin turbo V6. But here, under the hood of the Armada is, as you can see, a V6 twin turbo, 3.5 liters. This is their VR family engine, so it's kind of based on, well, it's the same engine family that you'd get in a GTR or a Nissan Z, which is pretty cool. Makes 425 horsepower, that's up 25 from the V8. It's a little less power versus the Infiniti because this can be run on regular fuel and it's just a little bit detuned. But you have 103 more torques, 516 pound-feet of torque. You can expect about 17 mpg. Again, maybe if we get one of these at home to do a more week-long test, we'll truly test that. But 0 to 60 is proper quick in about 5 seconds, or the high 5 seconds, so under 6 seconds. No hybrid, no mild hybrid, but this is a pretty good engine. And then that power goes from that V6 twin turbo through a 9-speed automatic to either rear-wheel drives or all-wheel drive, or 4-wheel drive I should say. And your 4-wheel drive system gets a 4-auto setting unlike you would get in the Toyota. So that's a big win for the Nissan here. You also can get a locking rear differential in your Pro 4X. The Pro 4X is also the only one to get 4-wheel drive as standard. And 4-wheel drive versus all-wheel drive is a $3,000 upcharge regardless of trim. And in terms of weight and dynamics, again, we'll talk about this more behind the wheel, but this is 6,075 pounds. You get adaptive suspension on pretty much all trims, most trims, and you get an air suspension on the Reserve that we have here. You also, I believe, get air suspension on the Pro 4X. You've got fully independent front and rear suspension, and that's again a nice ride difference versus the Sequoia that has that solid rear axle. So you've got a little bit more space in the back, and the ride characteristic is a lot smoother on the road. And then as we touch on styling, this thing is huge, really big, lots of presence, very geometric, very American truck styling, and you get that sense from even just the front of the car. Lots of lighting up front, dual C-shaped headlamps, or I call them crab grab sometimes, LED fogs, all that good stuff, and lots of chrome. This is the Platinum Reserve, so this is the tippy of the top, and it's very, very handsome and chromed out. It does look pretty expensive. It looks big, it looks imposing, and as we come around to the side, we've got 22-inch wheels on our Reserve trim. You can get as small as 18s, and I think the 20s are available on the Pro 4X. But we do have a functional heat extractor here on your front fender. We've got blacked out A-pillar and wing mirror with a little chrome band that goes all the way down the body to your floating D-pillar that kicks up. You've got Armada designation there, and you do have a floating roof, regardless of whether or not you want the two-tone. One thing to point out is you also have static running boards. They're not powered, but they don't need to be because the whole car is on air suspension. It goes up and down, so it's easier as it lowers itself to get in and out or to load things in the trunk. But around the back, again, very geometric, very big, very imposing, lots of presence, full width LED tail bar, and the taillights mirror the front headlights. So that dual C shape or crab grab, Armada spelled out, huge Platinum Reserve badge, and the rear bumper doesn't stick out quite as far as it used to, but I think that's kind of a nice thing. Overall, I'd say, especially in this warm kind of sun-setting light, it looks pretty good. We will talk about the trunk. It is, of course, powered in a very dramatic fashion, and you do have power close and lock, which I like to see. With the rear seats up, you're looking at about 20.4 cubic feet of space. That's up 5 cubic feet from the last gen, and this is bigger than the Sequoia, and not by a little bit. And this is kind of my litmus test, this big film backpack that I have, especially when you got the water bottle in here, and this fits widthwise in the rear of the Armada. It does not fit widthwise in the Sequoia. There's also a little tiny bit of storage underneath the floor, so I'm not even going to show you. But you do have a house outlet right here. My fingers are frozen, so they're not really working. You've got some tie downs, and you do have controls for your air suspension. Again, if you want to make the car a little bit lower, so it's easier to load things into the trunk, you can do that. But you also have powered controlled third row. Again, not the fastest thing in the world, but it's nice to have. When those seats fold down, you're looking at 56.3 cubic feet of space. That's really pretty nice. Again, we're keeping a look at that nice flat floor, and the second row seats will drop. It's not electronically, so they're not going to come back up, but they do electronically release from back here, and then you have a completely flat floor. Really, really nice. Almost 100 cubic feet, 97. Again, that's more than the Sequoia. So the cargo area, I would say, is easily more practical than the Sequoia and doesn't have that silly shelf thing. And of course, the third row seats come back up. And towing, you're looking at 8,500 pounds, regardless of rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and regardless of trim. And we'll check out the third row seats, but to do so, of course, we need to remove the second row. This is the captain's chairs. You can get bench. We'll talk about that in a minute. To remove this, it's a mechanical lever release, and look at this. You love to see this. The chair stays in place, so this is the child seat friendly orientation. Also slides really easily, and I hope you can hear this. There's a very satisfying click, like weirdly satisfying click when that gets back into place. And then to get back here, I'm 6'1", as you guys know. We've got the Star Wars Battle Droid style headrest, Roger, Roger, but all that same really nice stitching detail continues back here. We do have some chargers. We've got some power recline, because again, these are powered third row, cup holders, air vents, all the stuff that you would want to see. But let's do a size test. Now this seat is like all the way back, and I still, at 6'1", have just about ½ inch to an inch of knee room in front of me. This is because they've added almost 6 inches of space to the third row, so this is properly comfortable in terms of leg room. Problem is headroom. Not quite as comfortable if you're 6 feet. I'm a lot of torso though. Another thing that's really nice is my knees aren't in my chest like they would be in the back of the Sequoia. Again, that's because we have independent suspension in the back. Sorry, Nissan, for getting your carpet all snowy, but I have to demonstrate for the people that you don't have to eat your knees in the third row. So that's a pro. And with the chair slid back, we'll talk about the back seats, but we'll start with the door. Leather wrapped pretty much everywhere, really, really nice. Your clip speakers continue back here. These are really nice. We just had a full walkthrough of recording studio where we got to demo the clips. It's really, really good speakers. A little bit of a bummer, don't have rear window shades. I guess you can get one of those little suction cup sticky yachty ones, but we'll step in. But before we do, really nice. I think this is their almond interior, but it's really cool. You got contrasted like lighter beige stitching and then a darker tan. Really, really pretty. I like the detail here, especially with this blue paint. But I'll step back here. The seats themselves slide. They also recline, as you'd expect. I've got an inch or two of knee room in front of me. I do feel like I'm sitting up pretty high, but my head does not come in contact, even with my big fluffy hat from my wife. Thanks, babe, for the hat. But you do have a climate zone back here. You have heated seats back here, no cooled, but you've got chargers, you've got map pockets either side, and you've got this little center thing for your cup holder with some additional storage and chargers back here. So overall, the second row maybe could use shades, but overall, pretty good. And then when it comes to the front seats, you've got 2-level memory here, and the same kind of zero gravity. Oh, these are zero gravity seats back there, by the way. That's why they're so comfortable. These are zero gravity seats up here as well. And the same kind of really nice bucketing, uber comfortable, same stitching and detailing. Love to see this here. 3-level heated, 3-level cooled, and 3 different types of massage here for your Platinum Reserve. So that is really, really nice. Of course, heated steering wheel as well. And then just touching on the overall interior and cabin experience as a whole, I'm really, really into this almond interior, this light brown, multi-different tones, lots of different textures, good alloys. Overall, very impressed with the cabin here. You've got a little bit of wood grain over here on the dash passenger side. The whole dash is leather wrapped. It's really, really impressive. But one of the things that I really love to see, especially in this class, is you've got loads of buttons here. Drive modes, your gear selector, maybe one of the buttons that you might not want, but it does clear up this center area. So you've got loads of stuff for storage and wireless chargers, cup holders, all that stuff. But all of your climate stuff, your heated seat, cooled seat, it's all physical buttons, and you love to see that. You've got 64 color ambient lighting options. You've got that open pore wood and the Klipsch audio. Really, really impressive audio system. Again, they demoed that for us and it's really, really nice. So overall, the interior design is modern, the materials are really good, and the build quality seems like it's nice and well put together. So I'm impressed from a cabin perspective. And the technology is also pretty impressive here. It starts with a head-up display, works really well with your ProPilot 2.1. That's even better than the ProPilot 1 that we had in the Murano earlier today. This is that eyeball reader, so it'll be hands-off as long as you've got your eyes on the road for the most part. Again, highway stuff, but when it's snowy and inclement weather, make sure that you are at least paying attention and have some control of the car because it's nice. It's a nice system, but it doesn't totally drive for you. No system really drives for you, so always pay attention. Just wanted to make sure I said that. But as we move into here, we've got our dual 14-inch screens. These are the upgraded screens, but as base, you still have 12.3-inch screens. So screen real estate, not a problem whatsoever. We move over here to your infotainment. Again, 14 inches, just like the cluster. You've got over-the-air updates. You've got Google built in on SL trims and up. You've got wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, your 360 cameras. Where's my camera button? Really, really impressive. Look at that, the way it spins around. That's like BMW luxury moniker-esque. That is very, very cool. You've also got your invisible hood type view. And for whatever reason, it's not doing it right now, but if you press this button on your invisible hood view or your ultra wide view, you should be able to press this button, which will expand the view from this screen onto this screen. So it'll be almost the entire 28 inches of screen that you can see your frontward visibility. These cameras stay on up to 12 miles an hour, which is really cool. Underrated feature, especially going forward, by the way. And you do have this screen here, which shows you your side tolerances if you're off-roading. And I do like the invisible hood for car washes or really tight stuff that requires a lot of finesse. So very, very good camera system here in the Armada. You also have a dash cam function, so you can use cameras in the cabin to either take pictures or recordings of your family as you're on a road trip, but it'll also function as a dash cam or sentry for security purposes if someone hits you while you're on the road, or even if you're parked, it can take pictures of that. So that is a really nice, thoughtful safety feature that I'm sure your insurance company is gonna love that you have. But overall, we're in wireless Apple CarPlay here, real snappy. We go to our home native system. We've got Google built in, like I've mentioned before. It's really pretty snappy and very good. You can, of course, add things, different widgets. So depending on what you want to see, you can see it. Really, really nice. Photo, inside camera. There we are. Boom. Here we are recording. We could record ourselves recording. Hey guys, real quick, Matt here. Just wanted to say I hope you've been enjoying the video. If you have, would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it does go a long way in helping us get access to cars sooner and get access to manufacturer engineers so we can get more information on the cars and get you more information so you can make better decisions. So would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe, like, comment, the whole YouTube thing. But with that, let's get back to the video. Behind the wheel of the Armada. And we fear no snow in the Armada. It's actually really pretty sure-footed here on this snowpack. I like the twin turbo V6. I know it's not V8, doesn't sound like V8, but it's torquey, lots of torque, like 100 more pound-feet of torque. So it feels relatively quick, and it's not quite as like peaky. We were in the Murano earlier today, and that's that VC turbo engine. So this feels a little bit like I don't have to wait as long. The turbo doesn't like, it's not as big a tidal wave when the torque comes in. It's more immediate, but you don't have to wait as long for it. And I think that's kind of nice. It's just a more organic, kind of natural feeling to it. Again, this is a Z engine, kind of. This isn't a GTR engine, kind of. That's obviously tuned for truck duty, and so is a 9-speed Jatco automatic transmission. But it's got no problem getting up and going. One of the things that you immediately notice, though, when sitting in this Armada is just how high up you are. I think I remember reading somewhere in the press materials that this is like the highest that you can sit in the class. And this isn't even the Pro 4X. This is still has the air suspension, still has adaptive suspension. So in the Pro 4X, if you're off-road, you throw the air suspension all the way up, that's going to be like 11.5 inches of ground clearance, so you get an extra 2.1 inches of lift when you're fully aired out. But here on the road, on the public streets, it feels nice and natural. And the thing that I really like is the air suspension. There's a sense of less truckishness that you get here in the Armada that you don't get in the Sequoia. The Sequoia, with its solid rear axle, feels truckish, and it feels truckish all the time. This hides that a lot better. Fully independent suspension, air suspension. On the highway, this thing just floats. It just floats, really isolated. There's a little bit of wind noise that comes off the A-pillar or roof on the passenger side of the car, but really, really isolated cabin. And even here, I mean, these roads are by no means smooth, you could say. But the cabin refinement's really good. The steering doesn't have a whole lot of feel. I wouldn't expect it to in something like this, but the car goes where I want it to go. And when I put some steering lock into it, it's not like it's falling over. The air suspension keeps the chassis nice and neutral. There's added rigidity, so that allows the suspension to work better. So the fact that they've got more torsional rigidity, more universal rigidity from the chassis itself means every other component can work better and more effectively. And it does. It really does feel that way. You've got paddles here if you want to control the transmission yourself, but there's torquey, turbocharged, low-end torque. There's decent sound to it. You turn this thing on, it kind of, not V8 grumbles, but it does a little brub, 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 brub. It's good, man. It's good. The ride is really good. The visibility is really quite good. The audio system is really good, especially when, I mean, I was doing like 80 on the highway, or, you know, in an 80 approved area. But I was doing like, you know, highway speeds. There's a tiny bit of wind noise, but I've got the Klipsch system up so high because it sounds so good that you really don't even notice it. So it's good. It's pretty good. I think the main thing that it's going to be shopped against probably is the Sequoia. And I think 9, maybe 10 out of 10 times I might have this. It doesn't have a hybrid. Sequoia has a hybrid, but it's not like it's getting amazing fuel economy. This gets 17-ish mpg. Again, we'll get some more real-world testing if we get a week with this thing at home, but there's a lot to like about this thing. There really is. So thank you to Nissan for having me out here in Detroit to drive your new Armada. Thank you to you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.